Greetings of the day, everyone. Hope you all are safe and doing well. Thank you for enrolling. Excel in Excel welcomes you all to EIE Fresh Talk. Excel in Excel is a data analytics firm that solves high impact business problems using data and technology. We provide end to end services in the field of data analytics and data visualization. EIE is managed by a team of experienced professionals led by Mr. Deepak Kumar, a qualified chartered accountant and a techno finance professional. Excel in Excel presents the popular talk show EIE Fresh Talk on its YouTube channel, where it hosts great leaders and subject matter experts in various fields from India and abroad to speak regularly on a variety of topics ranging from Excel to analytics and finance to finance modeling, and many more. Few of our past events are Best Practices in Financial Modeling by Miss Daniel, which was held in the month of May. 5 must-have charts in any finance person's toolbox by Mr. Chandu on 5th June. Spreadsheets and Forensic, a relation by C.A. Saran Kumar U. Our upcoming sessions are Maximizing Business Potential by Miss Sangeeta Sumesh on 27th June, that is tomorrow. Design Your Professional Service Business for Acceleration by C.A. Amit P. Nahar on 28th June. The next session is on Modeling a Franchise Business Opportunity by C.A. Sandeep Kothari on 4th July, followed by a session on Managing Business Continuity and Finance During Uncertain Times by C.A. Sweta Kochar on 5th July. To know more on EIE Fresh Talks, use the link in the comment section. Coming to today's session, 7 Excel features pros use to be more efficient by Mr. Sumit Bansal. Mr. Sumit Bansal is a 6-time MVP from India who runs a popular Excel website, trumpexcel.com. He is a blogger, trainer, entrepreneur, and a YouTuber. With over 10 years of experience, he has trained hundreds of people through his online Excel course. He also shares weekly Excel tips and videos on his YouTube channel. He is a great teacher by heart who spends most of his time trying to break down complex Excel concepts into simple examples. We welcome you, sir. Before we begin, I request the participants to join me in welcoming today's speaker with a hi in the chat section. For any questions or comments, kindly use the comment section. We will later present the questions to the speaker. Over to you, sir.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me on your Fresh Talks session. And I have, I'll quickly do in an introduction, and then I'll get to the meat of this session, which is more about examples in Excel. So let me quickly share my screen. And now mostly you would have the screen shared, so you'll probably not see my face or just a small part here. All right, so let me quickly introduce myself. I'll keep this really brief and then we'll jump into the Excel spreadsheet and see some examples and things that you can use to be more efficient. As Shreyans already mentioned, I am Sumit Bansal from India. I run a popular Excel blog called trumpexcel.com, also a YouTube channel with the same name. I graduated in MBA Finance, I think about 10 years ago. And then I started working in a couple of firms where I got exposed to Excel. So that is how my love with Excel started. And it was actually in IBM when I was working with a lot of data and spreadsheets that I thought of starting a blog as a side hustle to see if I can make something out of it. I already knew there were some people. I already knew a couple of great folks, including Chandu, who has already been on the show. And that worked out. And in about 2 years, I was able to leave my job, and now I do this full time. Now, so this is all that I'm going to introduce about myself. Let me quickly come to the session and what we are going to do in this session. Now, what I really wanted to tell you in this session is that Excel at the end of the day is just a tool that has many different features. And your job as a person who's using Excel is to get the work done and go home faster. And to do that, you just need to know how to best use the tool. So I never recommend you learn everything in Excel. Do not try and do that. There are just too many things. Just pick up those right features, right functionalities that are important for you, and then learn how to best use those. So these are the 7 things that I'm going to cover in today's session. Now, if you have been using Excel for any amount of time, you would might have already used a couple of these. But what I'm going to do in this session is I will take each of these and also show you how to use this in an advanced way or in a more sophisticated way. So you already know how to use it in a basic level, but also do a lot more with these features. So with that, let me jump to the Excel sheet that I've created. So I'm sharing my Excel sheet now. In case you cannot see the Excel file or there is any technical issue, just let the team know and they'll let me know. So this is an Excel file that I've created with you. I will be sharing this file with you all. All right, perfect. So things are working fine. So I will be sharing this file with you so you can go through all these examples later. And I'll try and go slow, but in case you think that I'm going too fast, because I have this tendency of speaking a little fast, then just let the team know and they'll let me know. All right, so the first thing that I want to cover in today's session is the find and replace feature. So in this case, let me quickly also hide this. All right. So hopefully now you can see the entire worksheet. And in find and replace, this is a feature in Excel that you can use to, as the name suggests, find something and replace it with something else. So in its basic form, it does exactly that. In here, I have an example where I have these company names. And what I just want to do is in these company names, I have this text here, NSE and their code. And I want to replace this term NSE with the word BSE. So let's say if I want to do this and I have hundreds of thousands of records, doing this manually it's going to take a lot of time, but you can use find and replace to do this easily. All you have to do is select this data, go to the home tab, and here in editing group, you have find and select. And if you click on this, you have this option called replace. You can also get the same option if you use the keyboard shortcut Control H. So hold the Control key and press the H key. And this opens the same thing here. Now, what you can do in find and replace dialog box is in the find what field, type in the text that you want to replace, and then in replace with, type the text that you want to replace it with. So let's say it's BSE and I have this data selected. All I need to do is click on replace all. And as soon as I do this, it will make all these changes. And you can see in this entire data set, all these changes have been made. So this is the basic use of find and replace, where you find data and you replace it with something else. And it is mighty useful if you're working with text data. You can trim data if you want. You can remove certain things. You can do a lot more with this function. But let's see some advanced features of how you can use find and replace. So here I have this data where you can see there are some cells that are highlighted. Now, this could be maybe data that you have downloaded from a database, or you have got this data from a colleague who has manually highlighted this. It could be a color. It could be, let's say, someone has made these cells bold, or they have applied a border to it or applied any other color to it. Now, in this case, if I have to select all these cells, and again, assuming that you have a lot of data, it would be very time consuming and obviously it would be error prone. You may miss out on some of these cells. So how do you make sure that you can select all these cells and somehow uh, replace these with something else, maybe delete these cells, maybe try and uh, change the formatting. So here again, you can use find and replace. So I would select this entire data here, hold the control key and press the H key. So it opens the find and replace dialog box. And here I would remove what I already entered. And in this case, with find and replace, you cannot just find text values, you can actually find formatting as well. So here you can see in find what I have this option called format. where I have this small downward pointing arrow. It might be a little too small for you to see, but it's there. And if you click on it, it gives you this option called choose format from cell. And when you choose this option, you can see now my cursor has changed and I can select a cell here. And as soon as I select a cell, it is going to pick up the formatting, the entire formatting of that cell, be it the border, be it the font style, font text, font size, and the colors in it. And now I can simply find all the cells that have this same formatting. So I can simply come here and I can click on find all. And you can see instantly it finds all these cells here, and you can see the cell references here, and all these cells have been now found. But now what I want to do is I want to select all these cells. So I would simply come here and use the keyboard shortcut Control A. And when I do that, it selects all these cells. And now I can close the find and replace dialog. So instantly, without doing it manually, you have selected cells based on the formatting. Now, if I want, I can change the formatting, I can remove the formatting, or I can apply something else. I can delete these cells if I want. If I want, I can change this with something else. But this is a useful option where someone who has manually made some changes and you want to instantly either remove those changes or you want to change it with something else. So finding these cells and replacing it with something else could become huge task if you do not know this trick. But now you can easily pick up the formatting and then select all these cells that have the same kind of formatting. Now let's see another example of using find and replace, which is how to replace line breaks in a data set. So here I have this data set. Let me zoom this a bit so you can see it clearly. Here I have the name, and then in the next line in the same cell, I have the street number, the street name, the city name, the state, and the pin code. Now this is typically how address is mentioned in labels, or usually it's mentioned this way in most of the printed material. But what if I want to combine this and get it as a single line? Now, if I have to do this for a lot of this data, manually doing it would be too time consuming. But you can use find and replace in actually replacing line breaks. See how we can do that. I would select this data. And again, I would hold the control key and press the H key. And here I would remove this earlier applied formatting. And what I would do in this case is I want to find line break. Now, line break is something which is invisible. Line break is something, and if you're wondering what a line break is, let me show you here. I type something here, and to go to the next line in the same cell, I hold the Alt key and then hit the Enter key. And then I go to the next line in the same cell. And this thing of going to the next line, this is called a line break. Now, how do I actually find line break and replace it? You cannot really see it, but you can still do that. So I hold the control key, press the H key. In find what, you have to use a keyboard shortcut, which is Control J, J for Joker. So you hold the control key and you press the J key. Now again, you are not going to see anything. You just see a small blinking dot. I don't know if you are able to see it or not, but there is a small blinking dot there. And that indicates that in find what, we have entered a line break character. And then in replace with, you want to replace it with something, because now the line break would be gone and the second and third line would go to the top line. So I'm going to replace it with a comma and a space character, so that all these parts in the name and the address are separated by a comma and a space character. And see what happens. Now when I click on replace all, it had instantly made these 12 replacements. Now you don't see it here because the width of this column is not appropriate. So I would change the width of this column. And now you can see that it is all in one single line. You can come here, select all these cells, double click on this, so it fits. And now you can see it's all in one single line. So with find and replace, you can also find line breaks and replace. And this saves a lot of time. I was working on one of the projects. It saved me a huge amount of time. Now you can also do the reverse as well. So let's say now I want to get the name in the first line, then the street and the city in the second, and then the state and pin code in the third one. So you can also replace something with a line breaks. Again, you have to do the same thing. You select this data, you hold the control key and press the H key. And here you just have to reverse this. So here in find what, I'm going to find a comma and a space character, because I want a line break to be inserted after the name and after the street and after the city and here. And then you replace it with a line break, which is by using Control J. So you hold the control key, press the J key, and now when you click on replace all, it had made the replacement, and now you would have to adjust these rows. So now when I do that, you can see I can select all these, and I have done this, the reverse. I have taken uh, the data where I had the comma and replaced it with a line break. So again, this is really, really important. Find and replace can easily help you in not just replacing text values or numbers, but also characters such as line break. Now, the last example in line break in find and replace is how you can use wildcard characters. And with wildcard characters, you can actually do a lot of text manipulation. So for example, here I have this data, and in this data, what I want to do is just have the company name. I don't want to have the NSE and the code here. Now, there are a couple of ways to do it. You can use a formula. You can try and use a text to columns as well. But find and replace is probably the neatest way to do it, because you don't have to have an additional column to apply a formula, or in text to columns, it simply splits it into different columns. With find and replace, it would simply go away. See how it can be done. I would select this entire data set, hold the control key and press the H key. And here I would remove anything that is already there. And in this case, in find what, I'm going to find the brackets and anything that is in between the brackets. So what I actually do is I would have the bracket starting, so the curly bracket, the bracket starts here, then I have the asterisk sign, which is the star sign, and then I close the bracket. Now the star sign is a wildcard character, which means that an asterisk sign can represent any number of characters, which means that if I'm finding something which is an asterisk sign in between brackets, this is going to find all that text strings which are in between brackets. So in this case, it would find NSE IOC in brackets, then NSE Reliance, NSE UNGC. All these would be considered as a match for find what, because I'm using a wildcard character. And I want to replace it with nothing. I don't want, I just want to get rid of it. So now I come here and I click on replace all, and you can see it makes 6 replacements, and all that extra thing that you wanted to remove from your text is now completely gone. So this is how you can use find and replace in various different ways. When you can find formatting, you can find line breaks, and you can also use wildcard characters. Now, there are many other uses that you can do with find and replace. So for example, one use case would be, let's say you have the first name and the last name and you want to quickly remove the last name, then you can use find and replace by removing anything that is after the space character. Again, something that you can easily do. So just play around with this tool. You can save a lot of time if you know how to use find and replace well. So this is one of the features that I wanted to cover. Now let's move to the next one, which is conditional formatting. Now, conditional formatting, a lot of people use it. It's a brilliant tool. And what it does is, as the name suggests, it formats the cell based on the condition. And with conditional formatting, you can add a layer of visual analysis. For example, here, it's a simple example where I have the student names and I have their scores. And what I want to do is I want to quickly highlight those scores where the student has scored, let's say, less than 35. So anyone who's scoring less than 35 should be quickly highlighted. Now, with conditional formatting, there are so many inbuilt rules that you can apply, and it's really easy to use. So to do that, I would select this data set. I would go to the Home tab, and in conditional formatting, I go to highlight cell rules. And here I would click on less than. So these are all the conditional formatting rules, and this is all what you can do. Now, obviously, I will not be able to cover everything that you can do with conditional formatting, but play around with this and see what all you can do. I will, however, show you some important things that will help you get started with it. So here, click on highlight cell rules and then click on less than, because you want to highlight all those cells where the value, the mark is less than 35. Now, in this case here, it opens this less than dialog box, and you can specify the value here. So I specify 35, and you can see the live preview instantly in real time. It is going to also highlight the data, conditional format the data. And here you can also specify the formatting. So this is by default, it has taken as something which has a light red background and a dark red color, but you can change this. So you have all these options. You can choose something like a yellow fill or a green fill, or if you want, you can create your own custom formatting. So you click on custom format here, and in the format cells dialog box, you can choose what color you want. Let's say you want to go with some really really dark color that attracts attention or is easily visible, then you can choose the colors from here. You can change the font color and everything here, and then when you click OK, it would apply that formatting. And the good thing with conditional formatting is that it is dynamic, which means that let's say in case the score changes and you have to change this from 44 to let's say 24, now it would automatically be highlighted. You don't have to keep on repeating conditional formatting rules again and again and apply it. If the data updates, your conditional formatting would automatically update and highlight the cells that would meet the condition. So in basic term, this is what conditional formatting is. It would analyze the values in your cells, and then it would format the data based on the value. Now, many people use conditional formatting. It's a really easy tool to use. But in this session, I'm going to show you a couple of additional things that you can do with conditional formatting. So let me first remove these rules. So I would come here and I would go to clear rules and clear rules from selected cells. In case you want to clear it from the entire worksheet, you also have that option. So let me clear it from selected cells here. Now, what I want to do is in conditional formatting, it would only analyze the cell. So let's say I just don't want to highlight the cell here. I also want to highlight the entire row. So in this case, I want to highlight any student who has failed. I just don't want to highlight the marks. I also want to highlight the name. Now you cannot do that with conditional formatting inbuilt rules. It's not there. By default, conditional formatting only analyzes the cell and formats that cell. But if you want to highlight the entire row based on the score, then you would have to use a formula to do it. And let me first show you an example of the kind of formula that we would use, and then I would show you where to put it in conditional formatting and use it. So in this case, the formula that I'm going to use is going to be this cell here is less than, sorry, is less than 35. But in this case, if I just use B2, if I analyze it for all these cells, this cell references changes. And what I want to do is when the score is 82 and conditional formatting is analyzing cell A2, which has the name Chris, it should still look to the score. Similarly, if it is analyzing B2, it should still look to the score. So even if I am analyzing the name, I should still be looking at the score. To do that, I would have to lock this cell in such a way that it does not change the column. It only changes the row. So to do that, I would come here and I would add a dollar sign in front of the column alphabet, which is B. Now what this does is it has locked the column. So if I use this in this case, and let's say I copy this formula and paste it here, it would still refer to this column only. And this helps me because now even in these two cells, which represent these two cells here, this formula still refers to the score and not the name. So if I copy this formula and I paste it for all these cells, you can see that I get a true wherever the score is less than 35, and I get a false wherever the score is higher. So because I also want to make sure that the name also refers to the score cell, I have logged it here, which means that here the column would not change when I move to the right or I move down, only the row number would change. So I would copy this formula, and this is the formula that I'm going to use to apply to this entire data set. So I go to the conditional formatting option here. And in this case, I would go to new rule. And this opens the new formatting rules dialog box. And here you have an option called use a formula to determine which cells to format. So you have to specify the formula here. And this formula can only return true or false. And if it returns true, that cell would be highlighted or formatted. And if it returns false, that cell would not be formatted. So in this case, let's come here and enter this formula. Now see what happens. This formula, this cell is going to be analyzed based on this formula. And same happens with this cell. Each of these cells would be analyzed based on this formula. So when it is A2, it refers, when it's A2, it refers to this formula B2 less than 35. Same for B2. But when it goes to A3, it would refer to B3 less than 35. Then for A4, it would refer to B4 less than 35. So here I can click on format, apply the format here. Let's go with this orange color. Click on OK, and you can see instantly it has highlighted all these rows where the score is less than 35. So you can highlight an entire row based on one single cell value in that row. Let me see if there is anything happening. A little slow. All right. So I would try and go a little bit slow. Okay, so let's move to the next example in conditional formatting. And in this example, I want to show you how to highlight due dates. So for example, let's say you're working on a project, and today, while we're having this session, it's 26th June. And I want to highlight all the cells, all the due dates, which are next week. So in this case, I can do that with conditional formatting. And again, with conditional formatting, the good thing is that if you open this worksheet, let's say 3 days from now, then it would pick up the week after that. So this is dynamic. It would keep on changing. So you don't have, so if that date has already passed, conditional formatting would not highlight it because it is only going to look for the next week. So it picks up that date from your computer's regional setting, and then it uses it. So in this case, let's say I have these tasks and I want to highlight those due dates where those due dates are after in the next week, let's say. So I would select these cells, I would go to conditional formatting, and here within highlight cell rules, I have this option called a date occurring. Now you can see there are many different rules. I can use it with numbers, so I can use it with greater than a value, less than a value, in between a value. I can use it with text data equal to text that contains, and I can also use it with dates. So in this case, I would click on a date occurring, and in this case, again, I would choose from these options. So you can see I have this option. I can highlight the date, which was yesterday. And again, the reference point is today's date, that that conditional formatting that Excel picks up from your system's setting. I can highlight any date which is today or tomorrow. So let's say you only want to highlight all the dates for tomorrow. So you know that this is the immediate priority. Then you can pick up this option here, or you can highlight things in the last 7 days or last week. In this case, let me go with next week because I want to highlight all the cells which are in the next week, and I can specify the format. You can see already this is being highlighted. And here you can change the formatting. You can also use custom number format, your own custom formatting if you want. And now when I click OK, you can see these cells have been highlighted because these are the cells which would be next week. Today is 26th June, and this would be in the next week starting Monday. Now, in this case, if I open this worksheet, let's say on after next week, then these would not be the cells that would be highlighted. If let's say I open it on 5th July, then these would be the cells that would automatically be highlighted. So you don't have to do anything. When you save Excel and you reopen it, everything is recalculated anyway. And with that recalculation, even conditional formatting is recalculated. So every time you make any changes or you open your workbook, conditional formatting would analyze all the cells and then check whether the condition is true or not. So this condition is true for these three cells. The condition is true today, but it may not be true 10 days from now. So after 10 days, it would again analyze all these cells and then it would highlight these cells appropriately. Now, you may think that this is a little bit restrictive because in conditional formatting, let me go back here. So in conditional formatting here, you only had these options. And if you may not want these options, maybe you may want to highlight something which is in the next 10 days and you don't see that option here. If that is the case, then you have to use custom formulas to do that. So you have to create a formula and see whether this date would comply with that formula or not. So in that case, you would have to go with the formula. Another thing that I want to show you is that it is possible to apply multiple conditional formatting rules on the same data set. So let's say in this case, I have already highlighted these cells based on if the date is in the next week or not. But let's say I also want to highlight all the dates that have already passed. So let's say I want to highlight all the dates which were in last week. So I select this thing here, I specify the formatting and I click on OK. And you can see two different conditional formatting can exist on the same data set. You can apply as many conditional formatting you want on the same data. So another example of this could be, let's say if I come back to the score data here, let's say I want to highlight all the students who have scored less than 35 in red, but anyone who has scored more than 80 in green, then I can do that. I can simply select this data, go to conditional formatting, and here first go with greater than and say anyone who has scored more than 80 should be highlighted in, let's say, green. And then again, go back to conditional formatting and apply the less than formula. And anyone who has scored less than 35 would be highlighted in red. So you can have multiple rules on the same data set. Also, if you want to edit any of these rules, let's say I want to change, and now I don't want to highlight anyone who has got more than 80. I actually want to highlight anyone who has got more than 90. Then you can change these rules. You don't have to delete everything. Simply go here in conditional formatting, and you have this option manage rules. And when you click on it, you would see all the rules here. Now, in this case, you can edit any of these rules. So let's say I want to change this from greater than 80 to greater than 90. Then I click here and I change this to 90 and apply. And instantly you can see that the change has been applied. Another thing that you need to know is that this rule, these conditional formatting rules have an order. These are applied in this order. Now, in this case, these are mutually exclusive. Anyone, a student who has a score would have scored either less than 35 or more than 90, but there would not be any overlap. But in case there is an overlap, there are two data points that both satisfy one condition, then the first formatting rule is applied always. So you have to make sure that you know this order, and in case you see that the result is not right, just make sure you correct this order here. And then in case you want to delete any rule, you can delete the rule here. So this is how you can use a conditional formatting. Uh, the basic stuff we've already seen. You just simply go to the existing options, but you can do quite advanced stuff if you start using the formulas, and then you enter the formula in conditional formatting. And if that formula returns a true, your cell gets highlighted or formatted. And if it returns a false, it doesn't get highlighted. Now, this is all about conditional formatting that I wanted to cover. Now, the next thing that I wanted to touch is custom number formatting. Let me quickly drink some water. Custom number formatting, again, is something really useful, and you can do some amazing stuff with it. So I have all these examples, and I'll go through each of these columns and how I've used custom number formatting here. But let me first tell you what custom number formatting means. When you enter anything in Excel, so let's say I come here in this cell and I enter a number, then you can see this number here automatically gets aligned to the right. Let me apply a border so you can see it. Let's give this a dark watercolor. So you can see that automatically this number gets aligned to the right. But if I enter some text here, let's say I enter something like this, a text value would always align to the left. Similarly, if I enter, let's say 100%, then it would know that this is a number. Or if I enter 0, then this Excel understands that this is text, this is number, this is in a percentage format. In case I apply date, then let's say here I enter a date, which is, let's say, today's date, then Excel would realize that this is a date and needs to be formatted in a certain way. This is custom number formatting. Excel understands the formatting for the cell, and the way it is formatted would show you the values. Now, for example, a date is actually a number in the backend. If I change this same date, so let's copy this date here, and let's change the formatting. You can see that in the backend, this date is actually a number 44008. But Excel understands that you want to display this as a date, and you have formatted this as a date. So it shows you it in this format. But in the backend, it is still considered a number, and dates and times are stored as numbers. So now, if Excel can allow you to format the data the way you want, then you can do some really cool things with it. So let's see a couple of examples. In this case, I have these numbers. And what I want to do is I want to highlight the negative numbers, which is this number and this number and these numbers, in red color. And I can do, there are other ways of doing it. The method that we just saw is conditional formatting. You can use conditional formatting to do that. But let's see how to do this using custom number formatting as well. So with custom number formatting, I would first select this data where I have to apply the format. I would go to the home tab, and here in the number group, I have this small icon. This is called the dialogs box launcher. And when you click on it, this opens the format cells dialog box. Now you can get the same thing if you use the keyboard shortcut Control 1. So you hold the Control key and you press the 1 key, and this again opens this same format cells dialog box. And in format cells dialog box, you have all these options. In the number tab, you have these options, which is to format numbers in Excel in this selected range. So in this case, as of now, by default, the option here is general, which means that it would consider a number as number, and the number would be aligned to the right, and it would be displayed whatever the number is. So in this case, if it is 6, it is displayed as 6. If it is minus 74, it is displayed as minus 74. But now I want to highlight negative numbers in red. So I would go to the custom option here, and I would have to create my own custom number formatting. Now, Excel has 4 types of formatting that you can apply. So you can apply it for a positive number, negative number, zero, and text value. So you can specify the format for these 4 things. So in this case, as of now, it says general, which means that general formatting should be applied to all, be it positive, be it negative, be it zero, be it text. And general means that positive numbers show up like positive number without any sign, negative numbers show up with a negative sign, text shows up as text, and zero shows up at zero. But I'm going to change this formatting here. So in this case, for positive number, I would keep it as positive number. So I would keep it as zero. Zero indicate that it would show the exact number, whatever you have entered in the cell. But in negative number, I'm going to have square brackets, and within square brackets, I'm going to type red, R-E-D, the color. And custom number formatting supports a few colors, red, yellow, blue. I think yellow is one of, and green is one of those. So when I type red, and then I would have minus zero because I want the minus sign and then the number. And then I would have a semicolon. So all of these formats need to be separated by semicolon. So I have zero in semicolon, then red in square bracket with minus zero, then semicolon. Then for zero, I just want to show it up as zero. And then for text, it should be as text. So I could keep it as general, or I could use @ character, which is again signifies text value. See what happens. And let me also copy this. I'll show you in case you're not able to see it because it's small. I'll paste it here. See what happens when I click OK. Instantly, these negative numbers become red, and you have highlighted only the negative numbers, and rest everything else remains the same. So the formatting that I have used here, let me paste this formatting here. Let me make this bigger just so that you can see. And let me quickly go through this formatting again. Zero here is for positive number, then any format is separated by semicolons. Then I have red in square bracket with minus zero. So it takes the color from here, then it takes the minus sign from here, and then zero. Then for zeros, which is the number zero, it would simply show it up as zero. And then for text values, that would be shown as simply text values. So I have kept everything the way it is. I have just changed the negative number formatting. In case you want, you can also just keep the first, third, and fourth as general, which means that nothing is changed for these positive numbers, zeros, and text. Only the formatting for the negative numbers is changed. So this is how you can do it. Again, something you can also do with conditional formatting, but good to know. But then let's see some more practical examples where this is useful. So I have these values here. And in this case, what I have done is I only have the number. So let me revert back to general format here. And what I have is the number here. But what I want to do is, instead of showing this as just number, just as 88, I want to show it as 88 million. And I still want to have the number in the cell. Now, this could be useful if you are printing this data. So let's say you have these numbers, and instead of just having the numbers, you want to have something like a dollar sign or a currency sign before it, and have a prefix or a suffix such as million or MIL or anything that you want to add to this number. You can do that easily. So I would hold the control key and press the 1 key with this text selected. It opens the format cells dialog box, and here I would go to custom. And in custom, I can specify this formatting. So I would keep this general. What I would do is add a dollar sign before general. So what this tells Excel is whatever the number is, before the number, just have the dollar sign. And then after general, I'm going to have a space character. And within double quotes, I'm going to type million. And now when I click OK, you would see something like this. Now, this is a lot better in terms of what this number is, because if, let's say, I have a huge data set, then it might be difficult for me to know what this number represents. It's 61, is it 1,000, is it million, is it billion? But now I can be really sure that this is 61 million in dollars. But the great thing about this method is that the value, the real value in the cell is still 88. The real value has not changed. which means that if you want to use these cells in formulas, in anything, you can do that. The backend value still remains 88. If I want to add, let's say, this width and add 10 to it, I can easily do this. And this would give me 98 million here, because this value here is still it. There is no text in this. There is no dollar sign in this. It is still the value, the number that we have. Custom number formatting has only changed the way the numbers are being displayed in the cell. It does not change the underlying number. Now, another technique that you can use with custom number formatting is hiding text values. It often happens that if you're working with data, then you may not find the entire data set. Maybe there would be some gaps, maybe there would be some cells that would not have the data. And this especially happens with databases. They would often give you stuff such as not available, or maybe they would give you dashes, which you would have to either manually remove or just work with that data. What you can do is, if you're printing this data and you do not want this NA to be visible, you can actually hide it. And to do that, I would select this entire data set. I would hold the control key, press the 1 key, and here I would change the custom number format. So I would click on custom, and here I would change the formatting. Now, in this case, I want the numbers to be visible. I just want the text values to be hidden. So I would keep the general here, which is for positive number. I would keep the general for negative number with a negative sign. So let me add the negative sign here. I would have a general for 0, but for text, I would not put anything. I would keep the text part empty. Let me copy it so that I can show you what I have done here. And now when I click OK, you can see instantly these cells are now blank. Now this does not mean that this cell is empty. This cell still has the value. It's just not being displayed. It's being hidden. So this is a great way to hide certain data that you do not like. It could be text data, especially this is the use case where I use it, because I get a lot of data where there is certain data points for limited rows, but for the rows where data is not available, there would either be some text or something which is not desirable. So you can easily remove this. Another cool technique that I want to show you is, let's say you're using helper columns and you have data that you want to use, but you don't want to show. Then you can hide that data. So one way is to obviously hide rows and columns, but if you cannot do that, then you can hide the complete data set. So you again select this data, hold the control key, then press the 1 key. And in custom number formatting, you simply enter semicolon 3 times. And when you do that, and when you click OK, it would hide everything. Anything that is in the cell would be hidden. It's still there. If you want to bring it back, you simply go back and make this general and everything would come back. But this is a really nice way of hiding data that you don't want visible. A lot of people would do this. They would make the color of the text white, but that doesn't really work, and it's not a great way to do that. But this method is really useful, and you can hide anything that you don't want visible, but this data is still there. It is still being used in formulas. It is still being used in anything that you're working with. The next example that I want to show you is how to convert numbers into something more meaningful. So let's say these are scores for students. And instead of showing these numbers, what I actually want to show is whether the student has passed or failed. And the criteria here is, if the student has scored less than 35, then the student has failed. Otherwise, he or she has passed. Now, in these numbers, if I have to get this value, either I need to use an if condition with a formula and I test whether this number is more than or less than 35 and then return pass or fail. But what you can do is really cool thing with custom number formatting is you can actually convert these numbers into text while still having the number in the backend. See how it can be done. I hold the control key, I press the 1 key, and here I would go to custom. And within custom, here I would change this and I would have square brackets, and within square brackets, I would type if this is less than 35. So I would have the less than sign and then 35. Then I want the text which is fail, and in case, and then a semicolon for the next condition, which is again in square brackets. If this is more than or equal to 35, so more than or equal to 35, then I want pass here. Okay. Yeah. So now when I click OK, you can see it had instantly converted these numbers into pass and fail. So In the backend, these still are numbers. You can use this in formulas, but here you can see that this becomes a little more meaningful, especially if you are creating, let's say, dashboards, and you don't want to show pure numbers because uh, consuming numbers and processing numbers is a lot more difficult as compared to processing text. So you can easily do this. And let me show you here the formula that I've used. So I've used square brackets. Let's actually, let me copy it from here. That would be faster. So this is what I have used in this example. I have 35 in square brackets with the less than sign. And if this condition is met, then the text to return is fair, and then a semicolon, and then the next condition, which is greater than equal to 35. And if this condition is met, then it would return pass. And this is how you can also use conditions to display your data more meaningfully and still having the numeric value in the backend. And the final example that I want to show you in this case is how to change the unit of numbers. So here I have these numbers, and if you go through these, this is actually 4,633,075, whatever, let's say it's dollar. Then these are values in millions. But let's say I don't want to show this in this way here. So I don't want to show the complete number. I want to show something which is easier to consume, 4.63 million. Then I can do that as well. And so to do that, I would again go to custom here. And in custom, I would have to change the formatting of this number. And that formatting here would be 0.00, because I want the number, which would be any number which is let's say 4 million or 9 million or 10 million, then I want that 4 or 9 or 10 to appear, then a dot, then two zeros. So because I want to show at least two decimal numbers, and then I would have two commas here. When you add a comma and you don't add anything after it, it would shave off the last three digits and only show everything that is left after that. So when I use comma twice, it actually shaves off 6 digits. But because I'm forcing Excel to show me at least two decimals, it is going to do that. See what happens now when I click OK? It shows me 4.63, 9.19. So let me give you the exact formatting that I've used. This is the formatting. 0.00. So it would have any value here, which is 4, 9, or any number. Then after decimal, it would at least have two decimals. And then these two commas make sure that I have shaved off the numbers. In case you want to show it in hundred thousands values, then you can only have one comma and not the other. And if I do that, then you'll have this value. So 4,633,000, $100,000. So you can change this your way. But this is a good way if you want to, let's say, convert your data, which is in millions, into billions, then you can easily do that. Also, you can do that is you can add text to it. So let's say in front of this, I want to add the word million, then I can do that here. Maybe add a dollar sign, just like we did in the first example, the second example, and you get these numbers. So from this number, we have formatted it in such a way that you get the million value with the dollar sign, with the text, without this being converted into text value. This still remains a number. You can still use it in formulas. So this is how you can use custom number formatting. These are some examples. Custom number formatting, you can do a lot many things with it. It's really amazing. I hope you can start learning custom number formatting with the examples I've shown you, and then try and learn with more examples. You can find a lot many of these formats online, and you can do so many things. For example, try and see what you can do with dates. You can do a lot of things with dates in custom number formatting. So these are the examples that I wanted to cover for custom number formatting. Let me quickly take a rain check how much time I have. I think I have somewhere around 15-20 minutes, right guys? So let me know if I have less time in the chat, because I have a few examples to cover. Let's see. I have, yeah, so I have about 20-25 minutes. So let's power through this. So the next example I want to cover is paste special. Again, paste special is something which is really simple, and it does just what it says. It helps you paste copy data. But because it is used so much, copying and pasting data is something which is done so much that the value of paste special is really high in my eyes. I use it every single day, and there are so many things you can do with it. So let me show you a couple of examples here. So here I have this data, and let me first explain what paste special does in case you don't know about it. What it does is when you copy the data, so when you copy this data, let's say I copy this data and I paste it anywhere, what happens is it is going to So I paste this data here and it is going to paste everything. So you can see that the numbers, the values in the cells came while I was pasting the data, but so did the formatting. So the border also came. In case there were any colors in this data set, then those colors, it can be it conditional formatting, be it cell color, be it the formatting of the text. If you have bolded some cells, everything would be copied. And in some cases, you don't want everything copied. You only want to copy the value, or you may only want to copy the formatting. Then you can do that with paste special. So let me delete this and let's copy this data. But this time we will not copy the formatting. We are only going to copy the value. So I copy this data. I come to the destination cell where I want to paste it, right click, and then you have these options, and then you have the paste special option. Now here you would see that when you hover the cursor over it, it will show you these options. So paste would paste everything, but if you come here, it is only going to paste values. So when I click this option, you can see it is only pasting the values, the formatting, the formula, nothing comes over with it. Actually, let me show you with this. You can see, because here I have bolded this text here, data. But if I come here and I paste this thing here, you can see data here is now, it does not have the bold font formatting. It does not have the alignment. There are no borders. Only the values have been pasted. Now, with with paste special, you can actually do a lot more than just simple copy pasting. So let's copy this data and come here, and you can see you have all these options. But if you click on this option called paste special, it opens this paste special dialog box. And I prefer using this because all the options are right here. I don't prefer using these icons, but your pick. You can choose anything you want. And in this case, you can see I have these options. I can paste everything, which is the default setting, or you can only paste the formulas, or you can only paste the values, which we have already seen, or you can only paste the format. So let's see what happens when I only paste the format. I only get this part here. So let's come back again and go to paste special. You can also only copy and paste comments and notes. This is really useful when you have different versions of the file. When you want to copy notes and comments from one version to the other version, then you can use this option. You can only use validation rules, which is how you create drop downs and other validation rules in Excel, and you have all these options. But what's really important and useful for me is the option that you have underneath. And this is something which are not a lot of people use these, is you can actually do these operations. You can add numbers or subtract numbers with this data. So let's see how to do this. Let me clear this. Let's say I have this number here, 1.5, and I want to multiply this entire data set with this number. Now, obviously, an easy and a really easy way to do this is you come here and you create a formula, this cell into this cell, lock this cell, and you have the value here. But this would require you to have an additional column. And again, this is a fine method. You'll have the formula, then you'll copy paste the formula on the original data, delete the column. A faster method could be that you simply multiply this using paste special. So how to do that? You first come to this cell, you copy this cell, you select this data, right click and go to paste special. And in the paste special dialog box, you have these options of operation. And here, if I click on multiply and click OK, this is going to multiply each of these cell values with this number that I selected. So instead of copying this number here, it is actually multiplying this number. You see what happens when I click OK? I get the same result. Now, there are a couple of things you need to know is that this is going to carry with it the formatting here in this case, and these would still remain static values. These would not be formulas. You can see here, it is still a static value. So you don't have to worry about converting these formulas back into values. You only get static values. And once you're done with it, you come here and you delete this. So this is a really quick method of doing this. Let me press Control Z to go back and get the original data. Other things that you can do with paste special is you can transpose the data. So let's say I have this data, but I want to quickly transpose this data, which means I want to flip it in such a way that the row becomes columns and the columns become rows. So let me select this data, copy this. And if you are into keyboard shortcuts and you love using keyboard shortcuts, the keyboard shortcut to get the paste special dialog box is you select the destination cell and then you use the keyboard shortcut Alt ESV. Let me write it here. Alt ESV. So you first press the Alt key, then E key, the S key, and then V key. So Alt ES would open the paste special dialog box, and then you can use V to just paste values, or if you just want to paste formatting, I think it is T or F. Or the other keyboard shortcut is you select this data, go to the destination cell, hold the control key and the alt key, and then press the V key. And it would again open the paste special dialog box. And here, if I want to transpose this data, I would keep everything as is. I would simply check this option here which says transpose. And now when I click OK, it instantly transposes this data. Again, this is no formula. This is static data that you can use right away. So this is quite useful. A lot of people, you might get data set which is structured in such a way where you need to transpose the data. Then instead of using a formula, you can simply use paste special and quickly transpose the data. So this is a very, very useful option. Now let's move to the next option, which is a flash fill. Now, flash fill is something that was introduced in 2013, and it's a really, really useful feature because it allows you to quickly manipulate text data. And I'll show you a couple of examples of flash fill. And I personally find it really, really useful and very awesome. It saves me so much time because it's really smart and intelligent. And I'll show you what it means. So what Flashfill does is it was made to make your text data and working with text data easier. So uh, to give you an example, here I have these names and I have the first name and the last name. And I want to quickly remove the last name and just get the first name here. Now, if you're doing it the traditional way, then you would probably use a formula and then you would check where is the position of a space character and remove everything after that, or maybe extract everything before the space character. Or if you are smart, then maybe you would use find and replace. And let me also show you how to use find and replace for this. But let me first show you Flashfill, because Flashfill makes it really, really easy to extract a part of text. So in this case, I would manually type here because I want the data here. I would manually type Francis, then I would go to the next cell. And then while I'm typing the next name, Flashfill is going to realize that there is a pattern to what I'm doing. And the pattern is that I'm only picking the first part of this text string. Everything before the space character, that is what I'm picking. So it is smart enough to realize that this is what it needs to pick, and this is going to give me all these suggestions. So while I'm typing, I'm not even finished typing the second name, it shows me all these options. Now, quickly check that these options are correct. In most cases, Flashfill works fine, but it is still not foolproof. There are some specific cases where you have a text data and there is no clear pattern. Then Flashfill gets confused and sometimes give you wrong result. But in most cases, Flashfill is going to work fine. So in this case, as soon as you see this data here below it in light gray color, simply hit the enter key and you would get the data. It's as simple as this. You instantly get the data here. And in this case, this is a really small data set, but imagine you have hundreds and thousands of names. Then doing this would only take you maybe not even a second, and it simply gets the work done. Now, in case you do not see those gray names here, so let's say you're typing the name, but you don't see that gray thing here. So I type both these names. I would select this entire data set here. I would go to the data option, and within data option, I have flash fill here. So in the data tools, I have the flash fill option here. And now when I click in this, and you can also use the keyboard shortcut Control E, hold the Control key and press the E key. And when I click on flash fill, it would again do the same thing. And if you accept the decision, the formatting that flash fill has done, then you can keep it. If you want to undo it, you can undo it. There might be some cases where entering the data in two cells may not be enough. So maybe you have entered the first name and the second name, but it is not enough for you to tell Flashfill the right pattern. So in that case, try doing it with 3 or 4 cells. And in case Excel can understand the pattern good enough, even if after 3 or 4 cells it doesn't understand the pattern, then maybe you have one of those cases where Flashfill would not work. But in 99% of the cases with simple patterns, Flashfill works really great. So let's say this was the example where I had the first name, but what if you want to extract the last name? Again, just do the same thing. Type these names, and while you are typing, Flashfill gives you these results. So let's see a couple of very cool examples of Flashfill. Here I have these names, but I want to remove the middle name. I just want the first name and the last name. Now, doing this with a formula could be quite convoluted because you have multiple spaces and you need to extract data and remove data from within. But Flashfill, it is really easy. All I have to do is I type the first name the way I want it. So I want it this way, and then I type Ryan, and while I'm typing again, it gives me the right result. I hit enter and bam, it's done. So this is one example. Another example of using flash fill is when you need to combine data. So in this case, we were extracting the data where we had the full name and we wanted to have a part of the name. But if you want to combine data, you can easily do that. So again, I would come here, I would type Francis. Then while I'm typing, again, Flashfill is smart enough to realize that this is what I want, and I hit enter, and bam, this is done. Now in this case, I'm just combining, it's a simple combine, but you can also do a little bit complex stuff, which is, let's say, you don't want the first name and the last name, you want the last name and the first name, and you want a comma in between. Then you can easily do that. Put this here, and while you're typing, again, Flashfill would instantly do this. So you can see that this is a really useful tool and saves so much time. Let me show you another example. This is something that I actually needed to do in a project, and Flashfill saved so much time. I have these names and the address, and here I want to get the city. And in this case, let's say I want to get this data here. So I want to get this part here, this here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it here. And now I go to the next part here. And while I am typing, you can see it gives me the result. In case it doesn't give you the result, just select everything, go to Flashfill, and this gives you the right results here. In case you want to extract pin codes, which is at the end of it, simply come here, 33062 85. While I'm doing it, it gives me the pin code. So it's so easy with Flashfill to extract data from long text strings, which earlier, if you're using formulas or if you're using something like a text to column, would be quite difficult to do and would be quite error prone as well. But this methods worked really well. Just make sure that you cross check and see that everything is working fine. So Flashfill, again, something really useful and can save you a lot of time. Now, coming back to the sixth feature that I wanted to cover is using Excel tables. And I don't have a lot of examples in this case to cover for Excel table, because what Excel table does is, once you have converted your data into an Excel table, it enables you to do a lot more stuff. And instead of having plain, simple tabular format data, it is always better to convert your data into an Excel table. Now, if you have a really strong reason to keep the data this way, so here I have this data, it's tabular format, but it is not an Excel table. You need to have a really strong reason to keep it this way, because otherwise I would say in all the cases, just convert this data into an Excel table. So how to do that? Simply select any cell within this data set, go to the insert option here, and then click on table here. Or you can use the keyboard shortcut Control T, hold the control button and press the T key. And when I do that, it is going to ask me to check the range. In this case, it has correctly guessed that this is the range, but just make sure you check that this range is correct. And your table has headers, because my has. If your table does not have headers, make sure this is not checked. In this case, I need this to be checked. And now when I click OK, this has now been converted into an Excel table. Now, as soon as you convert your data into an Excel table, a couple of things happen. You can see that the formatting or some formatting has automatically been applied. I cannot see the headers, so I'll probably have to go and change the format manually. But what happens is, you can see you have these banded rows, you have the filters applied on the header, and you have this data formatted nicely. Now, it's not just the format that I'm talking about when I say Excel tables are very useful. There are certain features that are enabled, certain functionalities that you get access to as soon as you convert your data into an Excel table. So let's see what I mean. In this case, let's say I come here and I add this. So let's quickly come down here. And here, let's say I want to add the revenue number. So I would come here and I would use the formula sum, and I would select this entire data set. All right. So when I select this data, see what happens. It is not going to pick up the reference. You can see that in the formula, it has picked up something called as table 2 and then revenue in square brackets, where table 2 is the name of the table and revenue in square bracket means that it is referring to the revenue column data. Now, this is useful because if I give you references, if I tell you it's sum F2 to F74, you would not even know what that means. You'll have to go back to your data and check what that means. But in this case, if I tell you this formula, you would instantly realize, okay, this is the sum of revenue because it says that there. Now, when I hit enter, it gives me the revenue. Perfect, fine. But see what happens. If I come here and I add more data to it, let's say I add this data and I add another revenue number here. Let's say I add this number here. You can see this value automatically updated, which means that this is not hard. The reference of the column is not hard coded. It is the entire column, everything which is in the table. So when you add more data to an Excel table, the table expands. And if you have used references such as this, then the Excel table would automatically account for it. So if you have a tabular data and you're using this sum formula, you would have to go back to the sum formula and adjust the reference to make sure that the new data has been incorporated in the sum value. But that's not the case with an Excel table. So this is why I recommend that you always use an Excel table. But there is more to it. It's not just these values, although these features are useful enough. More important thing with an Excel table is that there are now advanced features and functionalities in Excel, something such as a Power Pivot or a Power Query, Power BI, and all these tools rely on an Excel table functionality. So if your data is an Excel table, you would be better able to use tools such as Power Query, Power Pivot, or Power BI. So make sure that you convert your data into an Excel table. Now, there is one really cool thing with Excel table. I think this was launched for that this functionality was released in Excel 2016 version. So if you're using Excel 2016 or versions after that, you would already have it. That is to have slicers in table, which means that I can have slicers and can easily filter my data. Let me show you. It's really cool. Select any cell in the data set. And when you select any cell, you would have this option called table design. And table design is a contextual tab, which means that it becomes available only when you select any cell within the table. It also happens with charts. If you select a chart, you'll have a contextual tab appear. And within this tab, you would have this option. Sorry, no, so it's not there. It's the insert. Sorry, my bad. The slicer option is actually in the insert tab. So you go to the insert tab and select any of these cells in the table, and you have this option called filters. And when you click on slicers, it is going to show you this dialog box where it will ask you what slicers do you want to insert. So let's say I want to insert a slicer based on the region. So I click on this and I click OK. And instantly it would insert something like this. Now, this is something that was only available with pivot table and pivot chart so far, but now it is also available with Excel table. So you have this, and what you can do is you can select any of these regions, and as soon as you select it, it is only going to show you data for this region. So you can easily filter this data. You can see that this data has now become interactive, and you can create multiple slices. So again, I select this data, so let me remove everything, go to insert, and now I'm going to insert another slicer, which is not for region, but for retailer type. And now when I click OK, you can see now I have two slicers and I can use these simultaneously. So for example, let's say I choose Midwest, but within Midwest, I only want to see food and staples retailers. So now I've made the selection, and this data only filters and shows me a region where the region is Midwest and the retailer type is food and staples. So this makes it really easy for you to work with this data, filter it, especially if you're creating interactive reports or dashboards. You can simply have these slicers appear as a part of your dashboard, and a user gets that interactivity feature. So this is really cool. But more than the fact that these expand automatically, more than the fact that the referencing is easier and with the formula referencing, it is more meaningful. The fact that now when you use advanced features such as Power Query, Power Pivot, Power BI, you need to work with Excel tables. So as a best practice, always make sure that you convert your data into an Excel table. That would be really useful. And then coming to the final feature that I want to cover in this session today is sorting. Now, obviously, sorting is a really basic thing. Most of us who work with data would sort the data, filter the data. So it's really common. But in this session, I want to cover two parts of sorting, which is not that commonly used. So here I have this data set, and I have the region, the sales rep, and the sales value. And usually what people do is they would filter based on the sales. So I would simply come here to the data tab, and here I have the sort option. So I click on the sort option. Here I go to sort by sales, and I can sort this data largest to smallest. So this is mostly what is done. Let me use Control Z to get the original data back. What I really want in this case, I don't want to just sort it based on the sales. I also want to sort it based on the region and then on sales. So I want all the east and the west and north and south together. And then within each of these regions, I want the sorting done. And this is called multiple level sorting. And Excel allows you to do that. See what happens, how you can do that. You select this data, you go to the data tab, click on sort box here, and first select the region part, because first you want to sort based on region, and then within region you want to sort based on sales. So here you click on region, and then you sort based on A to Z or Z to A, whatever order you want. So as soon as I do that, it instantly gives me east, north, south, west. But if I go back again, I can add a level of sorting. So now when I add a level, it is added below it. And you can see it says sort by region and then by something. And then by something could be sales. So sort by region and then sort by sales. And here I would say sort on sale values, largest to smallest, click OK. And this is now something where you have East, and then within East, you have the sorted data only for the East region. And then you have North, and then you have the sorted data for only for the North region. So you can do multiple level sorting in Excel easily just by adding those levels in sort dialog box. Now, let's see another thing that you can do with sorting. And this is again something that not a lot of people know about this. And this is using custom list. For example, usually we sort data which is numerical data, or we sort data alphabetically. But in this case, I have the name and I have their satisfaction survey result, which is a text value, high, medium, or low. Now, if I want to sort this data based on high, medium, low, I will not be able to do it. Let's try and see what happens when we try and do that. So I select this data, I go to the sort option here, and if I sort by the survey result, I can either sort A to Z or Z to A. And if I try and do that, this is not the right order. So I want high, but I don't want low after high. I want high, medium, low, or low, medium, high, however way you want to sort it. But in this example, it is not going to give you that option. So how do you do that? You can create your own custom sorting criteria. You can tell Excel that I want to use a criteria where the sorting should be high and then medium and then low. So let me press Control Z to go back. And to create that custom sorting criteria, what you can do is again go to the sort dialog box here. And in this case, this time you sort based on survey results. And in this case, instead of doing this, you click on custom list. And it will open this custom lists dialog box. And what you can do is you can add your criteria here. So I've already added high, medium, low, but the way you add it here is you have high, then comma, then medium, comma, and then low. And then you can add this here. And once you have added this criteria, then this can be used to sort your data. So let's say I already have it, so I'm going to use this part here. I have this, or you can have it in separate lines if you don't want to use a comma. Click OK. Now this uses high, medium, low as the sorting criteria. And now when I click OK, you can see it sorts this data based on high, medium, and low. So sometimes you may need to create these custom lists, these custom criteria. Sometimes it may happen that, let's say you have department names and you don't want these department names to be sorted in an alphabetical order. You want these department names to be sorted in a specific way, in a specific order. Then you can create your own custom list, your own custom sorting order, and then use that while sorting your data. So this is how you can do a little more with sorting. Obviously, we all know how to do basic level sorting, but you can use multiple level sorting, or you can sort based on custom lists as well. So these are the features that I wanted to cover. I hope I am on time. I'm not overboard. And these are the 7 features that I wanted to cover. These are simple examples. I have the file, so I would share the link to the downloadable file so you can go back to this video whenever you're watching this and can follow along while you have the file with you. So that's all what I wanted to cover. Back to the team. In case there are any questions, then I would be happy to answer.
Uh, Thank you, Sumitji. Thank you. It was a very useful session. Even I did learn something, new tips on find and other things. Thank you. As of now, we didn't get any questions. There was one question on yesterday's Instagram post.
Yeah.
They wanted to check where they can learn on Power Query and Power BI. Do you offer any courses on Power Query and Power BI?
Yes, so I do offer courses, and these are absolutely free courses. So earlier I used to have paid courses, but after the entire Corona pandemic started, I've made all my courses absolutely free. So there are 4 courses that you would find available on my YouTube channel: Excel Basic to Advanced, Excel Dashboard course, Excel VBA course, and Excel Power Query course. I do not have a course on Power BI, and to be honest, I don't even really know Power BI. I don't use it that much, and I'm still a beginner and I don't know about it. But if you're looking to learn about Power Query, there is a course available free of cost on my YouTube channel. Just go to the playlist section and you'll have all the courses available.
There is one more question by Miss Deepika.
Yeah.
Uh, her question is like this. Example, she wants to understand on the braces with respect to Power Query. Some functions have braces, some functions doesn't have braces in Power Query. So is there any logic behind that?
Uh,
Example, in if formula in Power Query doesn't have any braces, and if you are using some other functions, they have some braces, brackets.
to be honest, I don't think there is any logic, and I could be completely wrong.
Okay.
But in formulas, in Power Query, unfortunately, it has a very specific way. For example, in formulas, if I remember correctly, you cannot use it in lowercase. You have to use it in uppercase. So it's quite stringent and restrictive when it comes to. It's not as simple as using Excel formulas in worksheets. It's quite restrictive. So if there is a specific format you have to follow, then unfortunately this is how it is. I hope that this language, the M language and Power Query formulas, these would be made a lot more user friendly in the future. But as of now, I don't think there is any logic to it. And again, I might be wrong.
Okay. Is there any order of brackets in the, I mean, like what we have in Excel? Is there any order? Which bracket will be computed first and which will be, or in even in Excel, even in Excel?
In Excel, in terms of brackets, so Excel, it's a really simple thing. If you have a bracket and then you have those order of precedence and operators. So in Excel, it's very clear. Excel always analyzes the function from left to right. So while it's doing it, it'll pick up that bracket and it'll solve that bracket, and then it'll move forward. So if you have a formula that has, let's say, a lot of brackets, all the brackets will be solved first, and then based on the operator, everything else would be solved. So let's say you have a bracket multiplied by bracket plus a bracket, then first those brackets would be solved, and then the order of precedence would follow. So first multiplication would be done and then addition would be done. So my recommendation is, if you're working with Excel formulas, always use brackets. Make sure that you have clearly specified that this is the part that we want to be clubbed together. For example, a lot of people do this. They would have, let's say, 10 plus 10 divided by 5, and they really wanted to do was 20 by 5, but they end up getting a result like 12 because the brackets. So make sure that the brackets are really clearly defined.
Can you share some experience of your MVP journey? I mean,
Okay.
there are only very less questions. That's the reason.
All right. So
So how do you
MVP.
feel like being an MVP, exclusive MVP for India?
Yeah. So first of all, it's a great honor. It's not something that is permanent. It's something which is renewed every year, and MVP is something I got in 2014. I don't know exactly how I got it. I might have gone to their website and filled my own thing that please give me the award or something. But I was a beginner. It's 2013. I was starting a website and I was really impressed. And I was following these guys. I was following Bill Jelen, Mr. Excel. Chandu was a huge inspiration for me. Then there was all these guys. Minda Tracy was there. Then there's Mike from Excel is Fun. So I was learning from all these guys, and all I wanted to do at that point in time was just share stuff and just learn better. So I'm one of those people who learn better when you write and you learn. So as kids, we were taught to write and learn better. So this is how I thought maybe I would just blog about it and understand it better. I got MVP award in 2014, and it is one of those recognition that I really value. It's something that I'm really proud of, because when you become an MVP, you also have this ability to interact with the team, the Excel team, and give them feedback. So when I was attending one of the conferences, I did actually get to meet with the team from Hyderabad, and they took our inputs mostly about Excel online and how to make it better. And you know that you would be heard when you give feedback. But at the same time, what it also helps you do is, when you become an MVP, you also have this ability to interact with the team, the Excel team, and give them feedback. So when I was attending one of the conferences, I did actually get to meet with the team from Hyderabad, and they took our inputs mostly about Excel online and how to make it better. And you know that you would be heard when you give feedback. But at the same time, what it also helps you do is, I am someone who's a consumer. To be honest, if there is something bad with Excel, I would really call it out. And I would say, this is bullshit. This is a bad feature, because I don't owe my allegiance to Microsoft. My allegiance is to the users, to people who are using, and that is what even Microsoft would want. So I would take the feedback from my users and I would give that feedback to Excel teams, or there is user voice. And if I can put any feedback then I would do that. So what I really like is, first of all, to get access to all these wonderful Excel MVPs. It's something like a badge of honor that I have. It's something which you do not get automatically. Every year you have to contribute, you have to do sessions, you have to either write blog posts or create videos or somehow help the community, maybe answer queries on forums. And this is how you would and your recognition, if it is recognized by Microsoft, then your contribution would be recognized by them and they would give you an Excel MVP award. It's something I really value. But how has it changed me and my working? It hasn't. If I'm not an MVP, I would still be doing the same things that I'm doing, because I love teaching, and uh, they don't pay me anything. I have to make my own money, so I would anyway have to do whatever I'm doing the way I'm doing it. So, but yes, having that access to the network and everything, it's a good feeling.
Any inputs on, do you conduct any live classes?
I don't. To be honest, this is the first ever live session I've done. I don't do it at all. I've always stayed away with live sessions. The only thing I do is I create YouTube videos and I write blog posts, but I never do anything live. So this is the first time in my life I'm doing anything live. And
I should say thank you to you and also to T for linking both of us. Thank you
yeah,
for her.
definitely. Yeah. So
I mean, do you also organize classroom classes? I mean,
no, I don't. I only have online classes that there were paid courses earlier, but
okay.
since March, April, I've made all my courses free. So right now, my only focus is to create good quality content, be it videos, be it blog posts, and just help people and reach out the masses with my free content. It does help me. I also have a business to run. I also have bills to pay. So I do make money through ads and everything. But I'm not selling any courses. I'm not conducting any online classes or any offline classes. That's not even in the offing. I don't plan to do it.
Good, good, good. Thank you. We'll definitely look into it. Can you share the your YouTube channel link or something?
Yes, so just go to YouTube and search for Trump Excel, or
Trump Excel.
youtube.com/Trump Excel, and you'll find the channel. Hopefully, it's still there, and
A
it will come.
personal question: why this is Trump Excel and not
All right,
Modi
yeah,
Excel? I
yeah.
don't
So
get a.
that's usually the first question I get. I started this site in 2013, and at that point in time, the word Trump only used to refer to a verb, which meant to conquer something or to master something.
Okay.
So the way I have used it is in a sense where I've used it as a verb. When you trump Excel, as in you use it as a trump, or you master Excel.
Hmm.
But then life changed after 2016. US election happened, and everyone started saying, Trump. Thankfully, no one has come back, and people don't abuse me. They don't. His supporter or his haters, they don't really bother me. They don't really come back and say anything. Sometimes there would be someone's, for example, you have asked me this question because you're curious, and sometimes someone would ask me. Sometimes someone would say you should probably remove this name, and I just tell them this word does not refer to that person. You go to my entire site, you would not find any reference to any political party, person, anything. It's just used as a verb, and I hope that this continues to be that way. We'll see what happens after the 2020 elections, but the
For sure.
word was never ever intended to be used for the president or any living or dead personality. Never.
Thank you, Sumitji, once again. Thank you. And the audience can definitely browse to his YouTube course. It is valuable. And whatever you shared today is definitely informative. Thank you, Sumit, once again. Shreyans, can you take over?
Yes, sir. Firstly, I'd like to thank you, Sumit sir, for the insightful session. I'm pretty sure everyone gained a lot out of it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. As I said, I usually don't do this. So, as in, I was quite not sure about whether the technology would work or not. There are sometimes power cuts in my society, so that was also one of the fear. But thankfully, everything has went well. And thank you, team, for managing this. And I know you've been in touch with me. And we've been in contact. So thank you, everyone, for all the hard work you've put in.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. We have few upcoming upcoming events, and they are as follows. On 27th, that is tomorrow, we have a session on maximizing business potential, that is by Ms. Sangeeta Sumesh. Most of the key takeaways would be adopting growth mindset, building teams, churning business wheel, designing action plan. Followed by a session on 28th on the topic Design Your Professional Service Business for Acceleration by CA Amit P. Nahar. The key takeaways would be disempowering myth of professional service business, principle and strategies to design your professional service business, professional service business, automation and acceleration. The next session would be on 4th of July on the topic of modeling a franchisee business opportunity by CA Sandeep Kothari. The key takeaways would be understand the process of business evaluation, forecast the revenues and expenses, prepare financial statements, compute free cash flows and decision making with capital budgeting and sensitivity analysis. We also have a session on 5th, which is on the topic of managing business continuity and finance during uncertain times by CA Shweta Kochar. The key takeaways for that session would be ways to maintain business profitability during the post crisis, avenues for revenue growth, tangible ideas for cost reduction, how to best manage cash flows in challenging the time, and key finance mantras for business success. We would be delighted if any user or the participant have any suggestions. You can put them in the comment section. Stay tuned for more fresh talks. Happy weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumitji, once again. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
guys.
team. Thank you, team.